This is Mississippi Matters on Jackson 16 WAPT.
Thank you for watching Mississippi Matters, conversations with the candidates. On November 3rd, voters will go to the polls to decide who they want as their president for the next 4 years. Here in Mississippi, all eyes are on the Senate race, who will serve for the next 6 years and how will it affect their balance of power. In this race, we have incumbent Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith versus former Congressman and U.S. Agriculture Secretary Mike Espy. Tonight, a candid conversation about the issues facing Mississippi right now and each candidate's priorities for the future of the Magnolia State. Right now, we speak with Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, joining us from the nation's capital. Thank you so much, Senator, for being with us.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. Now, first we want to discuss the topic that the entire country seems to be talking about, and that's COVID-19. And we want to start with your overall thoughts about the virus. Then we'll move into specific questions about its impact on Mississippi and the federal response and the response from Washington. But first we want to talk about maybe any personal experiences that you've had with the virus and if it's touched you personally.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of friends that have contracted COVID. Most of them have done very well. We do have a friend that did pass away, more than one, actually. So it's been pretty dramatic for all Mississippians.
I think you've mentioned before that, unfortunately, you may have lost some close friends from the virus.
Yes, we lost two friends that just tragic. Left behind great families, and it did hit close to home at that time.
And unfortunately, the virus has hit close to home for so many people, and we want to talk about that, talk about COVID-19 and Mississippi. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus response here in your home state and on the people that you serve?
Well, you know, I think that we've responded as best that we possibly could. The president shut down the travel from China into the United States on January the 31st. And the first thing that we were trying to address is the medical issues. We didn't know what we didn't know about the disease or the virus. And finally, you know, we've learned a whole lot from it and we've responded and we're on the right path. The death rate has declined 85% since April. So we've come a long way, but it sure has been a tough road.
And as we go into the fall now, into the flu season, what do you think we need to know now, and what should we all expect as we go into this colder time of year?
Well, that is a great concern because just the flu season alone is enough. But then to compound that with COVID-19, I just encourage everyone to follow the CDC guidelines, to do what you possibly can to keep yourself healthy, to keep your family healthy, and to be so conscious on how easy it is to contract this virus and do everything possible to make sure you're doing as much as you possibly can to stay safe.
Many have called it a possible twin-demic of having the flu season and having COVID. And with you being a Mississippian, you know it can be very warm here in these supposed colder months. It's close to 80 here today here in Mississippi. What advice would you give Mississippians in dealing with the weather here as it kind of goes back and forth, warmer days in the winter months?
Well, you know, we kind of let down our guard at times, and I get on multiple airplanes every week. I go through 3 airports twice a week. So, you know, I know I'm very conscious of it, but everybody needs to keep that high alert going because it is not over. This pandemic is not nearly over, and we do have additional risk factors right now. And I've gotten my flu shot. I've encouraged everybody else to get their flu shot, but to just stay as healthy as you can, but mainly conscious and aware that we have to continue to diligently try to combat this disease and certainly prevent the spread of it.
And talk a little bit, too, about thinking about your neighbor and telling other people to not think about only yourself and the people in your household, but thinking about others who are around you as well. Sometimes people don't think about that, but like you mentioned, being in airports all the time and being around other people, it's not just about you and your family, but it's about your fellow man.
You're exactly right. And wearing that mask is so respectful. You know, I just do it because I don't want to spread anything that I might have to someone. I've been tested twice, negative both times. But being just conscious of your surroundings when you walk into a room that there's multiple people in, and if you need to leave, just leave the room. If you need to leave a crowd because people aren't wearing masks, you need to take care of yourself first and not be the spreader yourself. And my mom's next door neighbors, an elderly couple, both of them contracted the disease, and you just have to be conscious of those things.
And, getting into this holiday season, people, the natural thing, we're Southerners, so we want to congregate, we want to be around family, we want to get together. But, what advice would you give people as we get into Thanksgiving and Christmas? You want to be together, you want to be around family, but, would you advise people of doing that right now?
Well, Thanksgiving's going to be so much different. It really is. And we need to continue to have our guard up, to be cautious of that. And large gatherings with people that you don't know where they've been and you don't know if they've been tested, you just have to be so conscious of that. And I know our plans are certainly going to change, but we're going to get to the other side of this. We're so close to a vaccine and the treatments are so much better. I know we're just overload fatigued with dealing with this, but we can't let our guard down right now because things will get better. We will get on the other side of this, and hopefully the vaccine will be out very quickly.
And segueing into this about the federal response, there has been a lot going on in Washington related to the CARES Act and an additional stimulus package and how the virus has affected the economy, not only here in Mississippi, but nationwide as well. What do our viewers need to know that directly impacts them, not only now, but in the weeks and months to come?
Well, we've had the fastest economic recovery from this. Our numbers are much better than what we anticipated when we first got into this. We're just working very hard to stabilize the economy, to make sure those that can get back to work safely, to make sure we return to school safely, to address the issues that small businesses need, just like the Paycheck Protection Plan. Hopefully I will be voting on that again later today, that we can get those services out to the community. It was so incredibly important in the beginning for the equipment for healthcare workers that they would have, because we were caught flat-footed. We did not have the storage that we needed for that, but we worked very swiftly in making sure they had their personal protection equipment. We will continue to do that, and just making those decisions, putting the funding out there that it needs to be put out there to respond to this, to continue to respond to this. With the schools, it's pretty expensive to buy the plexiglass, to put up the signage, to get the sanitizers in there, and we provided funding for that, but we still need to continue to do those things. But the CDC has been a great guideline, and to listen to that, to be conscious of spreading the virus, but get health care when you feel like that something is going on, to not delay. And we're getting more money out for testing, for supplies. I had the opportunity to go to the Armed Services Retirement Center in Gulfport. There's only 2 of those in the United States, one being in Gulfport and one here in Washington, D.C. And that was the request, that why can't we get rapid testing, because that's what we need. I returned to D.C., and in one phone call, I was able to get the rapid testing for them, because if they left and came back, they had to quarantine for 14 days. So it's just so many issues in every aspect that you can possibly think of that we have needs, and we're working very hard to address those needs and making sure Mississippians get everything that they can possibly get to combat this virus and to continue living a life that is as normal as it can be, but that they have the supplies, the equipment, and the financial needs met.
And you mentioned small businesses, and of course we have done many stories with many small businesses, mom and pops, they are trying to thrive and they're trying to stay in business, but we've heard so many stories from them. What would be some words that you have for them as they just try to make it? Some have already gone out of business, they couldn't make it, but those who are just trying to thrive and trying to make it, what help is coming for them?
Well, we're trying to get continued Paycheck Protection Plan Again, another relief package there. We're working on that very hard right now. And we did have so many small businesses that the government said you have to shut down, just like the restaurants. But when they were trying to make payroll, when no one was walking in their doors because everyone was confined to home, we were just so afraid to get out. And obviously, they were just about to go out of business, as you said. And to make that payroll on Friday, to keep the employees there, you know, we went into a mode of economic survival. We got the Paycheck Protection Plan out there, which many Mississippians took advantage of. And we walked them through the steps of how to go to the SBA loan application, go to their local banks, their local financial institutions, and help them with that process. And, you know, when that happened and they had the money to go into their account that came from the federal government to basically allow them to stay in business is exactly what it was. You know, people don't forget that. People don't forget that you help them in their greatest need. But to stabilize the economy, to make sure that they have jobs to come back to when they got out of the shutdown. And, you know, we've done that. We have 10 million jobs that shut down due to COVID. Those are back, and that's over half. So we are certainly headed in the right direction to making sure that we can stabilize the economy, we can protect those jobs, and continue on the economic growth that we were on before the COVID interruption.
We'll keep it right here, everyone. Our conversation continues after the break. Welcome back to Mississippi Matters, Conversations with the Candidates. We have Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith with us this half hour. And Senator, in this segment, we want to talk about the impact federal leaders have on the daily lives of Mississippians. And we want to talk about your top 3 priorities that you have for the state for the next 6 years should you win. Right now, what's the top of your list?
The top of my list is safe economic recovery. And we've got to stabilize this economy. We've got to make sure that everybody is up and working and providing for their families. And we've got to create an environment that we can have prosperity, that businesses can succeed, that we will see expansions and we will see job growth, and all those things that make it just really proud to be a Mississippian, the dignity of a job and raising our families the way we want to raise our families.
And I know we can talk about the economy this time.
I am very concerned about...
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm very concerned about health care. That is another tremendous priority for me. And lower prescription drugs. You know, we have such a high rate of diabetes in Mississippi, and that is certainly among the very top is health care, rural health care, and prescription drugs, because it is astronomical what we pay for prescription drugs.
And going back to the top of your list, when you mentioned the economics of everything, we know this time of year, getting into the holidays, it's been a rough year. 2020 has been a very rough year for so many people. And they're thinking about the holidays and they want to buy for the family, but they may not be able to right now. People want to save, but maybe they've already gone through their savings. What are some words of encouragement or something that you can tell people right now about that they, you know, can tell their families or tell their kids as they enter into what could possibly be a very rough time?
Well, the good news is we are headed in the right direction. The Department of Labor gives us numbers and statistics that the economy is coming back. We're not nearly where we thought we would be at this time. And there are being jobs opening up, jobs available. You will see expansions. And that is the good news, is we're coming out of this. And Christmas may not be what they hoped for or planned for, because a lot of people, as you said, have depleted their savings. But we've got to look forward. We've got to work together to bring ourselves out of this and the stabilization that will come from that.
And then you talked about health care earlier. We know that, unfortunately, Mississippi falls at the bottom of the list when it comes to so many things involving health care and health disparities. Even when it came to COVID, so many people had underlying health conditions that made the COVID even worse in some people. Talk about that when it comes to in relation to people dealing with their health and their health care, and some who may not even have coverage.
That is the reason that I have worked so hard for rural health care. Mississippi is a rural state. Telemedicine is so important, especially during the COVID when people did not want to get out and travel to see a physician when they could. They were just afraid to do that. One of the things that I have done is expand broadband. I have got $780 million just in the last 6 months for Mississippi to improve broadband that would improve the telehealth. And I don't think there's anything we could do greater than reducing the prescription drugs. Because, I've been to the Senate floor that I've addressed this, we have taken this on, and we're making progress there. The president, this has been one of his priorities as well, is to reduce those prescription costs. But we have to stay healthy. The pre-existing conditions are such a vital factor in any time you have a health situation. If you're not healthy in the beginning, it's certainly going to be compounded so much worse and so much stronger. So we continue to support all the health care. I have gotten some really kind notes from physicians and hospitals in Mississippi thanking me for my leadership during this pandemic of making sure they're getting those life-saving treatments, the drugs actually physically to the hospitals. Testing is so important, and to make sure we have enough tests out there that are accurate, and continuing to work on the vaccine. We have done this in record time. In 10 months, here we have 3 drugs that are very promising for a vaccine. That has just been unheard of in years past. But we've concentrated our efforts. We've put all of our energy into addressing this and to make sure that the researchers had exactly what they needed to develop a safe vaccine, and I have a lot of confidence in that.
And let's talk more about that broadband, about how it came about, and not just necessarily with the telehealth, but also with helping kids with virtual learning. We know so many districts are doing the virtual learning now, and they need that broadband in order to help them with their school lessons. How is that broadband, how did it come about, and how is it helping with virtual learning as well?
Well, when we decided on the number of what the dollar figure the coronavirus relief package would be, we really made that a priority because we've learned so many lessons through COVID. So many kids out there that were forced to do their virtual learning obviously did not have the access to broadband that they needed. So it became a top priority. And so I sit on the Appropriations Committee, and that is a real good position to be in to make sure that I can address those financial needs that it takes to stand up that system. And we have been incredibly successful on doing just that we can stand up the system, but you have to have the funds to do that. $780 million, that's a lot of money to go toward that. And I think it's going to start out addressing those needs, correcting the deficiencies that we had. So, these students can continue to learn from home when they need to. The virtual learning will always be there. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have improved that so drastically.
And you gave us your priorities. You gave us your first and your second. What about your third priority?
My third priority is a safe America. We have to support law enforcement. Even the conversation of defunding police, that is just, I can't believe we're even having that conversation. We have a lot of issues out there, and we want a safe Mississippi. All families deserve to be safe. And we've got to make sure that they have the funding that they need to do that and to address those issues, to make that a priority for training. And, that's one of the reasons I really support the Justice Act of Senator Tim Scott, because that does need to be passed. It needs to be implemented for training, transparency, accountability. And, it's just hard to put top priorities in 3 categories. There's so many that we're working on because we multitask pretty well. And every issue is important to me for every Mississippian.
And you mentioned the police and community relations right there, and there's been a lot of tension that we've seen between police officers and law enforcement in several areas, but we saw a group come together right here in downtown Jackson, and it was a very peaceful protest over the summer with no problems at all. As an elected leader, what are your thoughts about two sides coming together and working together to enact change?
That's exactly what we're about. That's exactly what we need to be doing. And, you know, we work very hard to make sure now and in the future that we can come together, because everybody wants a safe Mississippi. Everybody wants to see their First Amendment rights protected. And, you know, we have to continue on that path to work together. To strengthen the military, that also improves the security, and that is one of my top priorities, is to make sure that we support the veterans, that we strengthen that military, that we get to the position that we truly have peace through strength. Because if you don't have a solid military, you're so vulnerable to the rest of the world, and that is incredibly important to me.
Stay with us, everyone. Our conversation continues with our final thoughts after this break. Welcome back to Mississippi Matters, Conversations with the Candidates. We're wrapping up our conversation with Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith with some final thoughts. And Senator, give our viewers some final thoughts as they prepare to head to the polls.
Well, I just want everybody to look at the record of our accomplishments, CindyHydesmith.com. We're so excited right now to be in the position that we're about to get Supreme Court Justice confirmed. Very excited about Amy Coney Barrett. She is just an excellent choice. So we've confirmed so many judges throughout the country. And to have this opportunity to meet with her, it's pretty incredible. But we do care about Mississippians, all Mississippians. We want the best for absolutely every family in all 82 states. We're going to continue to work hard to grow these jobs, to grow the economy, to make sure we have the health care that includes pre-existing conditions. That's very important for our state. We want safe communities. We want a strong military. And, the judges are so important. And the opportunity that we've had there, I think, is very significant. But to get this economy stabilized, to get people safely back to work, get beyond this pandemic and the health scare that we have been through.
And we thank you, Senator, so much for giving us some of our time today. And again, as Mississippians are watching this today, we want to remind everyone about the general election coming up on Tuesday, November 3rd. Remember that the polls are open in Mississippi from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. statewide. And remember that every vote counts. Thank you so much for watching Mississippi Matters, Conversations with the Candidates. I'm Erin Pickens. Have a great day.